Have you ever felt like you're wandering through your own life without a map? Like you're playing a role you never auditioned for, wearing a costume that doesn't fit, speaking lines written for someone else. You might call it being lost. But what if you're not lost at all? What if the deeper truth is this? You were never given the space to exist as your true self in the first place. This isn't just poetic phrasing. It's a psychological reality called identity foreclosure, a term coined by developmental psychologist James Marcia to describe a state where a person adopts an identity without exploration, usually because they've been pressured, conditioned, or forced into it by family, culture, or circumstance. Often, this begins in childhood. Think about it. As a child, you looked to the adults around you for cues on how to be, not just how to tie your shoes or say please, but who to be. If your emotions were dismissed, stop crying, you're fine. Your interests mocked, real men don't paint. Your questions shut down, because I said so. Or your authenticity punished, you're too much. You learned a brutal lesson. Your true self wasn't safe. So you folded yourself into a smaller, quieter, more acceptable shape. You became what they needed you to be, obedient, agreeable, invisible, so you could survive. But survival isn't the same as living. Now as an adult, you might feel strangely empty. You have a job, maybe a relationship, responsibilities, but something vital is missing. You scroll through social media wondering why everyone else seems to know themselves. You try on new hobbies, new styles, new beliefs, but nothing sticks. Not because you're broken, but because you skipped a foundational step. You were never allowed to ask, "Who am I?" without fear. Identity foreclosure doesn't feel like trauma in the classic sense. There may be no single dramatic event, just a lifetime of small erasures. The time you loved dancing but were told it was silly. The way your curiosity was labeled defiance. The family expectation that you'd become a doctor, a pastor, a perfect daughter, regardless of your own dreams. You internalized those messages so deeply that now, even when no one's watching, you still police yourself. And here's the cruel irony. Because you've spent your life mirroring others, you may not even recognize your own desires. You might confuse what you want with what you think you should want. You might feel guilty for wanting anything at all. But this isn't your fault. It's a natural response to an unnatural situation, being raised in an environment that valued compliance over curiosity, image over authenticity, silence over self-expression. So what now? First, grieve. Grieve for the child who wasn't allowed to wonder, to experiment, to make a mess, to say, "This is me." That grief is sacred. It's the first act of honoring yourself. Then begin, slowly, to explore. Not with pressure to find yourself as if you're a set of lost keys, but with gentle curiosity. Ask yourself small, kind questions. What did I love before I learned to hide it? When do I feel most like me, even for a moment? What parts of myself have I been apologizing for? Try things just because they spark a flicker of interest, not because they're productive or impressive. Say no to things that drain you, even if they make sense. Protect your energy like the rare and precious resource it is. Most importantly, stop mistaking your survival strategies for your identity. The people-pleasing, the overachieving, the numbness, they kept you safe once, but they're not who you are. They're what you did to endure. Your true self is quieter, subtler, and far more resilient than you've been led to believe. You're not lost. You were hidden, even from yourself. And now, at last, you have permission to come out. Not to become someone new, but to finally meet the person who's been waiting inside you all along, the one who was never allowed to exist until now.
You know that feeling when you walk into a room and instantly shrink? Not because anyone yelled at you, but because your body remembers 1,000 moments when your presence was met with discomfort, correction, or silence. Maybe you learned to laugh quieter, to speak only when spoken to tuck your opinions into your pockets like contraband. And so you grew up performing existence instead of living it. Your personality wasn't something you discovered. It was something you assembled from spare parts. Your parents' expectations, your teacher's praise, your friend group's vibe, the roles that earned you safety. You became fluent in the language of what others need from you, but forgot how to speak your own native tongue. And that's why finding yourself feels impossible, because no one ever let you lose yourself in the first place. You were never given the chance to be found. Think about the first time you drew a picture as a kid. You didn't worry if it was good. You just felt the crayon, the swirl of color, the joy of creation. Now, you hesitate before writing an email. You second-guess your outfit. You analyze your laugh and recordings. Somewhere along the way, spontaneity became dangerous because being real once came with a cost. This is the quiet tragedy of identity foreclosure. You didn't choose your path. You were handed a script and told your life depended on memorizing it. And the worst part? You got really good at it. So good, in fact, that even you started believing the character was the real you. But here's what no one told you. It's not too late to improvise. You don't need to figure out who you are in one grand epiphany. You just need to start saying yes to the tiny whispers you've spent a lifetime muting. That weird song that makes you tear up in the grocery store? Play it again. That career path you abandoned because it's not stable? Write about it in your journal, just for fun. That boundary you're scared to set. Try it for 1 hour, one conversation, one breath. Healing isn't about excavating some perfect, pre-traumatized true self buried under the rubble. It's about giving yourself permission to become, again and again. You're not rebuilding a broken identity, you're birthing one. And yes, it's terrifying, because now, for the first time, you're accountable to no one but yourself. No parental approval, no societal checklist, no shoulds, just you, alone, with your own longing. That's where the real work lives, not in fixing, but in feeling, not in becoming, but in allowing. So the next time you feel lost, pause. Ask gently, is this confusion or is this freedom? Because what feels like disorientation might actually be liberation in disguise, the dizzying, beautiful space between who you were forced to be and who you're finally becoming. You were never missing, you were waiting, and now it's your turn to exist, loudly, messily, unapologetically. No permission needed. You already belong here, especially as you.
There's a moment, often quiet, almost invisible, when everything shifts. It might happen while you're washing dishes, or sitting in traffic, or staring at your reflection in a foggy bathroom mirror. And suddenly, without warning, a voice inside you says, "What if I just stopped pretending?" Not dramatically, not with a bang, just a soft, stubborn refusal to betray yourself one more time. Maybe you say, "I don't know," instead of faking an opinion. Maybe you cancel plans because your soul is exhausted and you don't over-explain. Maybe you wear the color you love even though someone once said it doesn't suit you. These aren't rebellions, they're resurrections. Every time you honor a flicker of your truth, no matter how small, you're doing something revolutionary. You're proving to your inner child that you're safe now, that their joy won't be punished, their anger won't destroy them, their weirdness won't make them unlovable. Because that's the wound at the heart of identity foreclosure. You were taught that your authentic self was too much, or not enough, so you edited yourself into something digestible. But editing isn't living, it's self-erasure dressed as survival. Now healing looks like this. You stop asking, "Who should I be?" and start asking, "What feels like home in my bones?" And yes, it's messy. Some days you'll slide back into old masks because they're familiar. Some days you'll confuse your desires with someone else's voice echoing in your head. That's okay. Healing isn't linear, it's spiral. You circle back, but each time you're a little taller, a little clearer. Here's something radical to consider. You don't need to find your identity like it's a buried treasure. You create it, moment by moment, through your choices, your boundaries, your curiosities, your no's and yeses. Your identity isn't a fixed statue, it's a river. And for years, it was dammed by fear, obligation, and silence. Now, you're pulling out the stones, one by one, and the water is starting to flow again. So let yourself experiment. Try on ideas like outfits. Change your mind. Say, I used to think, but now I feel, without shame. Let people be surprised by you. Let yourself be surprised. You were never meant to be a static character in someone else's story. You're the author now. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to be ready to begin. You just have to be willing to be a little bit truer today than you were yesterday. That's how you come back to life. Not with a grand declaration, but with 1,000 tiny acts of loyalty to yourself. So, the next time someone says, I don't even know who I am anymore, you can gently reply, maybe you're not losing yourself. Maybe you're finally meeting yourself for the first time. And when that truth lands in your chest like a heartbeat you forgot you had, that's the sound of you beginning to exist. Not as you were allowed to be, but as you were always meant to be. All along. Healing from identity foreclosure isn't about becoming someone new. It's about coming home to the person who was always there. Buried, yes, but never gone. That child who loved bugs, who danced in socks on hardwood floors, who asked why until they were shushed. That child didn't vanish. They went underground. They tucked their spark into a secret pocket and waited. They waited for you to be safe enough, strong enough, kind enough to finally let them breathe. And now, every time you choose curiosity over compliance, stillness over performance, truth over tidiness, you're not just healing yourself, you're healing your lineage. Because when you refuse to pass down the same silence, the same self-abandonment, the same good child script, you interrupt a cycle that may stretch back generations. That's not just personal growth, that's ancestral repair. You might worry, but what if I don't know what I like? What if I have no passions? Start here. Your desire to be real is your compass. You don't need grand passions to begin. You need only one honest yes and one brave no. Say yes to 5 minutes of silence with your morning coffee. No phone, no agenda. Say no to explaining yourself when your gut says this isn't right. Let your body lead. Let your grief speak. Let your joy be messy. This isn't selfish. It's sacred. And to those who say, but I have responsibilities. I can't just be myself. Hear this. You don't have to quit your life to reclaim yourself. You just have to stop living outside of it. You can be a devoted parent and honor your exhaustion. You can be a reliable employee and protect your inner world. You can love your family deeply and say, this part of me, it's mine. Boundaries aren't walls. They're the gates through which your true self finally walks into the light. So, if you've read this far, know this. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are a human being who survived by disappearing, and now with trembling hands and a heart full of quiet courage, you're learning how to reappear. There will be days when the old script whispers, just go back, it's easier. And there will be days when your soul roars, never again. Hold both. They're part of your story. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep showing up for yourself, even imperfectly, even awkwardly, even when it feels like you're making it up as you go. Because you are, and that's the point. Existence isn't something you earn, it's something you claim. Not by being perfect, but by being present. Not by being certain, but by being curious. Not by being found, but by finally allowing yourself to be seen, by you first. So, take a breath. Place a hand on your chest. Feel that? That's not confusion. That's your life. Pulsing, waiting, ready. You're not lost. You were never lost. You were just waiting for the world and yourself to make space for you to exist. And now, you're here. Fully. Finally. Fiercely. Welcome home.